I love the connection with the music.
It's a journey to discover my own self-worth, my confidence.
And just be whoever you want to be as a dancer.
What do you do? What are you passionate about? Be uncomfortable. Always learn.
Timing, technique, connection, and musicality.
Match the other person's energy, see where they're at.
Most transformational things that happened to me.
We are a community and we all respect each other.
Every dance is an opportunity to connect.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Why We Move podcast. It's your host, Ricardo. You can call me Rico. And I know it's been a hot minute since we last recorded or launched a new episode. I promise we've been super hard at work behind the scenes in efforts to make the show even bigger and even better. And I promise we're going to deliver very, very shortly. I'm excited that you're back and tuning back into this very special episode. I know I say that a lot, but the reason why this episode is special is because, according to Alex Hormozi, the top 1% of podcasters have 21 episodes or more. And on top of that, we're closing out season 2. And I know what you're probably thinking is that, hey, Rico, you didn't even interview that many people. That wasn't even a long season. Like, what's going on? I promise you, I understand we're going to continue to interview all kinds of folks here in Philadelphia, but also expanding our boundaries to go across the nation and across the world. And so I'm very excited to share with you guys some new news about the podcast, about the show here. We're changing it up a bit. What I mean by that is that we're going to start to travel to new cities, and we're basically going to be hunting for those stories, for those tips and tricks, for those insights from people all across the world. The mission from the get-go has been to make social dancing a lot more welcoming, a lot more accessible, and a lot safer for everybody involved. So whether you're just starting or you've been in the game for 20 plus years, I promise you, we're going to be delivering some good value for you to take home and onto the dance floor the next time you step foot. And for those of you who are watching who might be thinking, what's going on with the studio behind you? Where's everybody else? That's because it's just me here today, and I guess 2 microphones. And that's because I'm going to drop the 9 best tips and tricks and insights that I have from 9 years of social dancing all across the world. And if you stick around to the end, I might drop an extra one. But before we get into that, I do want to highlight the last 2 years of me living here in Philadelphia has been an amazing one. And I want to give a special shout out to everybody who's guested on the podcast so far from season 2 here in Philly. And for those who have been booked, who might be seeing this and are excited for your episode, I'm super grateful for everybody here, not only just the people who have guested on the podcast, but everybody in the dance community who has welcomed me with open arms over the last 2 years and has made my time here so very special. And so I can't thank you enough. I appreciate everything that you've done for me, and I can't wait to explore more of the social dancing scene here in Philly. And so with that, let's go ahead and get started. Starting with tip number 1, communication. I know it sounds cliche, but it's probably the first thing that I want to capitalize on because it's the most important one. Communication is key. Dancing is a language, just like the English, Spanish, whatever language you speak, it's something that you use as a tool to bridge a connection with somebody else. And just like the languages we use to speak with each other on a day-to-day basis, dancing is the same thing, both verbal and nonverbal. From the get-go, really, from the time you make eye contact with somebody to the time you're finishing dancing with somebody. And I'm talking about eye contact, I'm talking about body language, I'm talking about frame, I'm talking about being kind, being open. There's so many levels to communicating on the dance floor. You just got to be aware of it, and you just got to present yourself with the best self possible, because that's probably what you want as well from another partner. Now, an important thing here to keep in mind is to be open about your level of comfort with dancing with somebody, meaning you can tell somebody you don't want to dance with them, and that's completely fine. If they take it a wrong way, that's on them. But ultimately, it's your choice to decide who gets to touch your body and who doesn't. And so always know that that is in your power. That is in your tool belt. So moving on to tip number 2. While you're dancing, you're going to make mistakes. You just got to embrace them. So embrace those failures, because ultimately those are just lessons that you can take to the next dance, to the next song, to the next opportunity that you can present yourself to be better. It's all part of the process. You're going to suck at first, and you're going to learn, and it's okay. It's just the way you get better, and over time, you're going to forget that you've ever made those mistakes until you probably look at a video and then you're like, oh crap, how was I that bad? But it's a journey that you get to experience for yourself and learn and grow into somebody completely different. And of course, after 9 years of social dancing, I've made incredible amounts of mistakes. So many that I'm embarrassed to say, but I'm actually proud that I was able to make those mistakes and learn from them, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for those mistakes and it weren't for those lessons. So just keep moving forward and enjoy the journey. As cliche as that sounds, just enjoy the process of learning because we are all learners. No matter if you're just starting or you got 20, 30, 40 years on the dance floor, we're all still students. Moving on to tip number 3 is knowing your music. That means not just listening to it when you go to socials, but understand the culture behind it, to understand the history behind it, and really dive deep into the world of the music that you're listening to so that you can understand how your body wants to move with it. This kind of leans into the conversation about musicality and understanding when and at what points in the song you're able to do a hit, you're able to do a pause, you're able to do something flashy, to do your shines, to do your partner work, and whatever calls for whatever part of that song. Ultimately, it's just from understanding your music, not completely, but understanding it enough to be confident in the way that you move it and you present it and you allow it to flow through your body. You know, if you're just starting, you might be dancing a salsa to a bachata or a zouk to a mambo or a cha-cha to a lindy hop or whatever it is. But after understanding the music and really listening to it and understanding the rhythms and the real oomph behind each of those types of genres of music, then you're going to understand what you can dance to and where the hits are and be able to start to build your musicality to a point where you're confident in the way that you move. And I tell folks all the time, literally, you just got to listen to the music all the time. There's probably not a moment in my life or very rare moments in my life and on a day-to-day basis that I'm not putting on music or listening to some kind of bachata, salsa, Zouk, Kizomba, whatever. And I'm paying attention, really being mindful about what is moving through my body and what I'm feeling and what I'm able to express, even in the smallest bits, even in the smallest movements. Whether I'm cooking and cutting some onions on the chopping board in the kitchen, or I'm scrubbing my armpits in the shower, it's really, it's limitless, the amount of times that, the amount of practice that you can even put into just listening to the music throughout your day. And so if it's on the way to work, if it's at the office, if it's in the gym, if it's while you're going to sleep, or if it's early in the morning and you're bumping up or cleaning, because that's what I do all the time, then that's always an opportunity for you to understand the music more by just listening and training your ear. Let's move on to tip number 4, and that's practice regularly. So it kind of leads into the last one in the sense that you really got to practice. So there's no other way to just get better. Those who are just talented like that and can just pick up, without even having to practice regularly, I applaud you. I'm jealous of you, envious maybe. But for most of us, it just takes practice. And ultimately, again, you're going to suck at the beginning, but you're going to get better. All that takes is just time. Time putting in the effort, putting in the hours, and putting in the work to essentially feel better about moving your body in public. And practice could look like many things. Again, incorporating it as many times throughout your day as possible, or even throughout your week if you're not able to practice regularly, whether it's in a studio, whether it's at home, whether it's doing online classes, whether it's at socials throughout the week or throughout the weekend. Just take the time to really practice to be able to understand, again, how you're able to move your body, not only in a practice setting, but also when you're able to move out in public at the social dance when you're ready to go social dancing. Some ways that I started practicing as well is just by myself. I would dance in front of the mirror at home, or I would dance again while I was cooking, cleaning, or in the shower. And sometimes I would get together with friends and organize a practice session. And we would just show up and we would just practice some certain moves that we learned in class or we learned at a workshop or whatever, and we kind of got that down. And I also think of socials as that ability to practice. I don't believe, now disclaimer, I don't believe that you should be practicing everything with everyone at the social. There's a time and place for everything. But if there's something unique that you can do and practice, whether it's your frame, whether it's your guiding, whether it's your footwork during a shine pattern when you're disconnected with your partner, as long as you're doing it safely with somebody at the social, I don't see anything wrong with that. But again, keep in mind, you got to be safe. You got to be cognizant about the partner that you're dancing with, because at the end of the day, it is a social dance. There's two of you. There's not just one. Again, I've been dancing for 9 years and I still have so much more to learn and so much more to practice. And so I'm continuously doing that, and I'm practicing what I preach, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm the best dancer, because I'm not. I've never claimed to be. I'm just a dude who really loves to dance and who really just wants to get better at however I can and just be better than my yesterday self. Moving on to tip number 5, and that's be open to feedback. I know that there are probably people out there who are listening or watching this and being like, yeah, but not everybody gives good feedback. I agree. That's why you should really pay attention and vet who are actual instructors, who are people who actually have the knowledge and know what they're doing, who not only just dance well, but can teach well. There's moments, and I think there's people out there in your community across the board who are very helpful who are leaning into building that community, who I think you should listen to. But again, it's advice, and take it for what you will, and take the things that work for you and drop the things that don't. In a way, I don't believe, and this is my hot take here, I don't believe that there's any right way of dancing. Yes, there are fundamentals. Yes, there are things that should be kept consistent throughout, the span of a dance and throughout the span of what you're learning in dancing. But dancing is art, and art cannot be captured, and it can only be grown into something different and evolve every single day. And so for those who are out there who maybe are telling you that this is the right way to do it and this is the only way, I would double check how they know what they know, because again, art, I believe, is something that just cannot be contained. It's evolving. And part of that is also kind of dropping your ego, because feedback is going to come from all different kinds of places. And it might not be from the people who you might expect it to, but it might also be from the people who are trying to help you. And so having an open mind to that different perspective, to that feedback, is very important to getting to the next level. And so look for those instructors, look for the peers who are actually putting in the time to better themselves, to find different avenues of how to express themselves and learn. And again, take what you can and take what works for you, and whatever doesn't work for you, whatever you just don't get, then leave it for the next day or just keep pushing it on. Eventually you will find your own style, your own way of dancing, and that is unique to you, and that's something that you should embrace. And with that, we're going to lead into tip number 6, and that's explore different dance styles. I can't tell you enough how many times people have come up to me, they're like, I'm not a salsa dancer, I'm not a bachata dancer, I'm not a Zouk dancer, I'm not a Kizomba dancer, that's not for me. Okay, fair, that's fine, you don't have to be everything, but I encourage you to have an open mind and at least try something. If you've tried it and you don't like it, cool, I'm not going to knock you. But if you're hating on something and you haven't tried it, you haven't given it a good chance, then honestly, I just don't want to hear it, and that's okay. Again, I think we're all entitled to our different opinions, and I do believe that it does make you a better dancer. Exploring different dance styles gives you a unique edge and understanding of how you move your body, what body awareness you have for those different styles, and ultimately what kind of movements that you can create and combine to make your dancing in whatever style that you do like to dance or that you do dance regularly in a lot better. Whether if it's from dance style to dance style or if it's from dancing to outside, it ultimately will give you another opportunity to branch those connections in your brain and be able to develop again a unique style to what's you. And you might have heard me talk about this with other guests on the podcast, but ultimately, I believe it really branches in and it kind of adds to the different flavors of dancing. Much like what I talk about with mixed martial arts, again, with jiu-jitsu feeding into your boxing, feeding into your Muay Thai, and then back and then over and cross. It all ultimately works in many different ways. And I would even go far as to say explore dancing outside of just social dancing. Could be hip hop, could be crumping, could be b-boying, could be Lindy hop, it could be contemporary, could be ballet, could be Argentine tango, whatever it is that you want to experience, know that that's also going to feed back into your many different dance styles. So being well-rounded, I think, is the ultimate message here, and really just kind of learning as much as you can. And what this does also is it encourages you to step out of that comfort zone. Comfort is the main killer of all kinds of growth. And again, I'm not knocking you if you just like to be comfortable. That's cool too. I'm not going to knock you. But for me personally, I always want to grow. I always want to get better. And stepping out of my comfort zone is something that I will preach till the day I die that will help you get to that next level if that's what you're looking for. Moving on to tip number 7, build your dance community. I think it's just as important as learning to dance and getting better in your dancing. You are your community. You are the people before you. You are the people after you. You are the people around you. And building that dance community is only going to help you be a better dancer. You can't get to the next level in a social dance if the person you're dancing with or the people you're dancing with don't also get to the next level. So why don't we not only just help them in their dancing and each other, but also just be good people. I think that's really like the main message here, is that be a kind person, smile, say hi, introduce yourself and make friends, because these people are going to keep coming back. You're going to keep seeing them. So why not make the friends that are there? You'd be surprised at the amount of friends that you can make, the network that you can build, and the folks who are going to help you get to the next level by simply just saying hi, being kind, and being their friend. it just makes dancing a lot more fun. You get to see your friends all in one place. You don't have to organize many crazy different get-togethers or solo coffee times with people or lunch or whatever. It's just, you see them at this social on Monday and then that one on Thursday and then over the weekend at some point. And it's just a great time. So I definitely encourage you to get into your local dance scene and build a group, build a band, a tribe of people, and make dancing more of a community versus just a place you go to casually throughout the weekday or weekends. Number 8, you've already heard me say, enjoy the journey. Again, I know it's cliche, but it's true. Enjoying the journey is just as important as getting better, as doing everything that you want and listening to this podcast to try to get as immersed as possible in dancing. Enjoying the journey is the most important thing ever for you as a dancer, because there are going to be rough times. There are going to be times where you're like, God, I'm not feeling good. Like, I hated that dance, or I hated going out that night. Never again. And then you find yourself 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, maybe even less time than that, back again and giving it another chance. And that's the beautiful thing, is that dancing will never go away. There's going to be a time where you might fall off, but understand that, knowing that you don't have to be a pro, you don't have to be an instructor, you don't have to be a performer or any of the sort. You don't have to put that standard on yourself, nor think that anybody wants to do that for you. You have your own journey that you can step on and build this passion, or build this into a career, or build this into a hobby that you will take on for the rest of your life if you choose to. And along with that is celebrating the small wins. I highly encourage you to take videos of yourself dancing. You might cringe at it. You might not be one of those people who just wants to see themselves in a video, but I promise you, you will look back and you will be super proud of yourself. I have videos of myself, yes, dancing super, super bad and just ridiculous. Honestly, I still have those from time to time, even in recent times, where I look back at that though, and I'm like, wow, look how far I've come. 9 years has gone in a blip. And I'm super happy that I was able to take those, because it was like going down memory lane. And I'm able to look at that time and really, really remember what it was like at that point in my life and compare it to now, and understand that you really can learn any skill. This goes beyond just dancing as well. If you just apply the same rule, showing up, practicing, staying with it, enjoying it, then you eventually will get better at whatever it is that you're practicing. For example, for me in podcasting and videography and photography, this was something I learned on YouTube. This is something that I picked up just because I wanted to. I didn't have that classic story that I grew up with a camera in my parents' drawer, lower bottom drawer that collected dust, and I just wanted to be a photographer, or I liked the movies or any of that. I just picked it up because I wanted to, and learned the skill via YouTube University and the internet, and now I'm here. So you never know what's going to happen out of that. And I know I'm trailing off a bit, but basically I just kind of want to motivate you to stick with it, and I promise you, you're going to love it. And that brings me to my very last point, and that is tip number 9, focus on connection. And this is the most important tip. I know I probably said that for one of the other ones, but this is the most important tip that I've come to learn over the last 9 years of social dancing on this earth, has been connecting with people. Again, that's, I think, the main theme, if you haven't already picked that up. Connection in the dance is everything. Nobody's going to remember that crazy cool freaking move that you did because it was so flashy, or all that footwork that you did and all the shines and whatever. No one's going to care about that. At the end of the day, they're going to care about the connection. Just like Maya Angelou says, people don't care what you say, people care how you made them feel. And I know I paraphrase that, but it's essentially the same thing. We can all use dancing as a vehicle or as a tool to connect with somebody. And that's what I love most about social dancing, is connecting with people. Again, there's so many people around the world who I've met just through dancing, just going to a bar or a restaurant where they're hosting a social at a random time of night when I was traveling for work or whatever. And now I'm great friends with them. And we talk all the time about dancing or about other things. And we were able to kind of dive deep into whatever friendship that opens up for. But ultimately, connection is what really brings us all together as humans. And the practical tip that I can give you here is really just enjoy the dance. Don't be looking at the next person you're going to be dancing with. Don't be looking at whoever's watching you, hoping that you could put on a show for them. Don't be looking at your feet or up in the sky or avoiding, eye contact. Make eye contact. Again, if it's appropriate and it's welcomed, and just don't be creepy, but smile, have a good time, enjoy that moment, because like I've said in previous episodes on this podcast, that moment only lasts so long and it's gone forever. You will never be at that same place at that same time, listening to the same song, moving your body in the same fashion with the same person ever again. And so that in itself is incredibly special. It's incredibly unique. So why not enjoy that completely, and why not showcase that in the connection that you have with that person in front of you while you're dancing? I can't tell you how crazy of an impact it's been for me personally when dancing and really putting that mindset on, that I've been able to connect so incredibly well with people just by smiling and making eye contact, and again, just having fun. The way I think Jose Palante, which shout out to Jose, has said on the podcast, he says, the best dancer in the room is the one who's having the most fun. And I might be paraphrasing that. I'm sorry, Jose, but honestly, it's the truth. It's the person who is having the most fun always, at any point in time in life, in their career, in their family, in their household. That's the person who's the best to be around, essentially. And so I encourage you, again, to take this into mind when you're going out to your next social, and practice that. Just be present with people. That's ultimately all we have in this life. And again, a disclaimer, if you don't feel comfortable with that person, or if you don't feel comfortable doing any of that, don't listen to me. Just do what feels natural for you. You don't have to smile, you don't have to make eye contact, but I do recommend it. And so I'll leave you with that. And like I promised, if you stuck it to the end, here's bonus tip number 10. And that is stay curious and keep learning. We are all students. We are all continuous learners. We don't have it all figured out. We don't have all the answers. Nobody knows what we're doing. We're just figuring it out as we go. But the one thing that we can all do is continue learning and continue keeping that mindset of a student. That, again, in dancing, outside of dancing, is going to prove so valuable and so beneficial for you in your life. I still take classes. I still pay attention to videos that I take inspiration from, and folks who are dropping knowledge nonstop in the dance or in the dance community, and having that student mind open whenever I'm conversing with people about dancing, to change my old patterns of thinking and adopt new ones and be able to morph it and create, again, my own unique style. And so that's the most beautiful thing that you can do, is just keep learning. So ask those questions, whether you think they're dumb or not. Keep showing up and learning and growing and being able to absorb everything and anything you can, because that's going to improve the way that you move. And so that wraps it up. That was 10 total tips out of the 9 years of social dancing that I've been able to accumulate, or at least that I've been able to kind of wrap up. There's so many more. I can't begin to explain the benefits or even the lessons that I've taken away from dancing. I still am learning. I'm still taking away from every single dance and every single time I go out. So I hope you found these tips helpful and useful for the next time you step foot on the dance floor. Whether you're a beginner or you're a seasoned dancer, there's always something new to learn and something new to take away. And so let's keep this conversation going. I want to hear from you. Let me know, what are your best tips? What are your best tricks? The insights that you've learned over the time that you've been social dancing. So if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to catch the latest and greatest of things that we're rolling out. There's so many things that are coming. I'm super excited to share with you guys. So thank you for tuning into this episode of the Why We Move podcast. I'm your host, Rico. And again, if you see me out dancing, send me a dance. Catch you next time.